because this next panel is arguably the best one of not just today, but this entire weekend, this entire conference. So I'm gonna need to make some noise, I'm gonna need some energy, because without further ado, I wanna welcome to the stage, first and foremost, your moderator, Raphael, joined by an incredibly stacked panelist. We got Keith, we got Paul, we got Chris, and last but not least, we got Petrix. Welcome to the stage. Clap it up for your panel right here, right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm living in that 21st century, doing something mean to it, do it better than anybody you ever seen. Do it, screams from the haters, got a nice ring to it. I guess every superhero need his theme music. No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking, I just count the hours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NFT Paris, or should I say ETF Paris. I'm joking, but not that much, because this year it's not only about arts and culture, but also about finance, which is a very good thing. I've been covering crypto for now 8 years, and I've seen the impact of crypto on finance. And it's a big, big change. And the question is today, is it an evolution or a revolution? To address this very interesting question today, we have the chance to have 4 rock stars in finance. So Paul Frambeau from Morpho, we have Keith Grossman from MoonPay, Chris Lyons from A16Z, and Petrich Barbosa from Match Chain. I would like to start with you, Paul, as a Frenchman, and regarding the fact that in France we love revolutions. Do you think that, Web3 in finance will be a revolution?
Right. So the way I think about DeFi in general is it should be a revolution on the infrastructure side, on the behind-the-scenes side of things. On the product side of things, however, it should not change much. And this is something we were discussing in the backstage just a few minutes ago, is when you're interacting with DeFi behind the scenes, you should not even be aware of it, right? You should be just transacting as you're right now, except you have much lower fees, except now, you don't need to trust on anyone. And, a bunch of those advantages. And maybe you can do it from countries that right now are unbanked, So I think from infrastructure side of thing is going to be a much, much different backend, but no one will know about it, right, as a user of the app, right? I think this is how we should think about finance in the future. Blockchain-enabled finance, right? However, maybe few words on the infrastructure side is going to change a lot, right? Because the way financial infrastructure is built today is around very, very, very few players. And I can tell you, I've been exploring this space. It's very, very few players controlling the base infrastructure, on top of which all the finance is relying, right? So it's about opening this, enabling, common infrastructure for every financial application. That's a revolution, right? That's never been done before, and that's going to change,
And Petrice, we met each other last night.
Yes.
And we had this conversation, and you told me that, it was like a revolution. And this morning, you told me, okay, it's a revolution, but also an evolution. So what's your take?
First, nice to meet you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in Paris and with these amazing partners here on the stage. It's a revolutionary aspect, but it's an evolutionary process, that's for sure. Revolutionary because blockchain gives you the condition to take out of the power from the centralized big companies and give it back to the users, the community. This is a revolutionary aspect for sure. But it's an evolutionary process because we shouldn't change anything that already exists, that already working. Because if you want to really onboard in the masses, you don't have to fully re-educate them. You need to just do the same process that they already onboarded on Web2, they already onboarded in the financial district, departments from the crypto space, which is the big thing that you have. Bitcoin is the whole reason why you're here, and this is a DeFi, decentralized finance. There's no better definition, and that's what brought us to be so big today. And then with this, we had other vertents or verticals with gaming and etc. that open the opportunity. But DeFi is the main thing, but must be an evolutionary process. We must change anything. Like he said, the end users or the real investors must just feel and do the same thing like they did before. Just to give you one simple example, when you democratize or make a public investment, we had some big boom years ago with GameStop. GameStop destroyed the whole institutions and communities, and their Reddit power really showed because they democratized through Robinhood, an application that you can really buy stocks. Crypto is all about this, right? And they did in a way that was a common way for everyone to understand. So the evolutionary process is the most important thing. The revolution is just a technology.
Okay, and this is why you decided to build your own chain. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, we are pretty much, actually we were talking about Steve Jobs behind the scenes right now, and then one of the videos that I watched recently from him, it's pretty much on the philosophy that we follow, which he was in a panel like this, and some tech guy put him in the corner and said, what have you been doing the past 7 years? Are you working whatsoever? Because they said that the technology for Apple for that time was really bad. He said, you'll probably be right, but what I'm really focusing is the user's experience, right? And that's how the whole blockchain space, in my opinion, should be doing. We should focus on onboarding the users, making sure they don't even feel that they're being onboarded, right? They have a seamless interaction, and then you can, after this, when you are big enough, inevitable enough, you can introduce the advantage of those technologies. So Match Chain, we are a layer 1, but not like any other layer 1. We try to fix and solve the island dilemma problem. We are full interoperable, EVM compatible, Move compatible very soon, and we are totally focused on data sovereignty and identity sovereignty. Basically building the decentralized internet.
Okay, thank you very much. And so, Keith, you decided to, reduce the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. So you're more on the side when you think that, you need to work together and to take the best of the two worlds, right?
Yeah. So I actually think what you said.
Yeah, just here. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm so nervous sitting next to Chris.
You look like you're about to drop some
Hands
bars.
up.
No, I think what you said is spot on, right? Where
Thank you.
This evolution is going to the consumer look invisible, but behind the scenes be transformative. And if you want an example in all of our lives that you could probably touch on is, think about the first time you saw a high definition television. Right? You were at standard television your entire life. You see high definition television, and you just go, that is better. That's better. Nobody was like, oh, I want to know all the technology behind that made that better. No, it's just better. And as it relates to sort of the space, my view is simply that you had a lot of really big disruptors, Google, Facebook, the likes, Salesforce moving outside of that space for a second, really disrupt the incumbents really not so long ago. And most of the CEOs still remember how they disrupted, and they're cognizant of being disrupted. And so I think that the same way that you saw sort of the dot-com evolution take place where there were dot-com companies, I don't think we're going to be talking about Web3 in 2-3 years. I think that the technologies are just going to naturally absorb into these companies, and I think a lot of the companies that Chris invests in are going to also be the companies that are either acquired by these larger companies or are the companies that are going to be shaping or shifting the direction of it. But I think that they work together ultimately and really behind the scenes.
Chris, you want to react? I mean, you are one of the biggest investor in the Web3 space. Mm-hmm. So what's your vision for Web3 in finance?
Yeah, so I think you have to kind of take a step back and say, the revolution will be owned, right? If you look at the top 5 apps in the App Store right now, it's owned by Google, Facebook, major media corporations that all, that we think that we own their data. We think that we own the data of our Instagram followers, but at any point, YouTube can cancel your subscription and wipe out every single video. Instagram can delete your accounts. So, like, we have to really think about, is this the best the internet's gonna be? Or are we actually gonna be able to have a revolution and go from the true meaning of what Web3 is going from reading on the internet to writing on the internet to owning on the internet, right? And being able to own your data, being able to have, eliminating the middleman, having 0-to-1 interactions with your customers, your fans, and through that, like, you get a chance to have that we have a theory that we always discuss called like 1,000 true fans, right? Where, being able to have that connection point with you, if you're a musician or if you're any type of creator, if you're a businessman or woman, or like, but decentralization is going to be able to create that opportunity. And so, from a high level, especially from, when we're seeing the best opportunities and seeing founders really building their vision, it really does revolve around creating a better system on the internet. And kind of similar to what everybody's been mentioning is that you have to do it without necessarily creating the actual technology. I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron that we call this an NFT conference when NFT is just a form, it's just a technology file and it's a form. And the everyday person does not even care what an MP3 or an NFT is. I mean, I used to work in the music industry, and I never went to an MP3 conference, respectfully, right? And so, like, we have to kind of, look at each other and say, okay, we can keep it in the system, but if we really want to onboard the next 100 million users and really get the true benefit of what the revolution can be, which is what we're all excited about and why we're here in Paris today, we have to do it from a state of, looking at it from a mainstream, but still using the technology and the benefits of, these L1, L2, and these applications to really help onboard the next generation of the internet.
And Paul, so you with Morpho and especially Morpho Blue, your new product, how many time will it take, to have a real infrastructure and, available for all the corporates in finance?
Yeah, right. So a long time, right? That's the truth. But I think the way we have to think about mass adoption, especially in the case of DeFi, is in layers. So you have the blockchain layers, and then you have the DeFi protocols. And in the early days, the DeFi protocols tried to be at the same time the protocol and the product. So if you think of protocols like Uniswap, it was one smart contract. As a user, I was interacting with the smart contract directly, right? And there was no layer, no product layer in between, right? And what we're seeing in DeFi that's interesting is that protocols are more and more generalizing and being decoupled in layers. So in the case of Uniswap, they moved from a very simple, Uniswap v2 protocol, and then it became more and more complex, requiring additional layers to abstract this complexity, right? And so right now, when you're interacting with Uniswap, you're not interacting directly with the protocol, right? You're interacting with another protocol called Uniswap X that is going to abstract away the gas fees, for example. That's going to abstract away, finding the best possible match for your trade or those kind of things. And so this is, I would say, like, the interesting things that we've realized in the last 2 years in DeFi is that it's impossible to bridge the gap between the end user and the protocol with just one layer, with one protocol. We have to decouple abstractions slowly but surely to be able to have, get into the hands of the users. And I'm a big fan of Uniswap and the way they decouple all of this. You have the very general protocol that they have, which is Uniswap v4, on top of which you can build your own pool, on top of which you have Uniswap X, which abstracts for users the choosing of the different, trading marketplaces. On top of that, they have a wallet, right? And the wallet is going to be account abstracted, etc. And so I think the best way to get to mass adoption is to have specialized layers, right? So some companies are excellent at doing products. Some companies are excellent at doing, protocols. And I don't think we should be going like always full stack. And as we were mentioning in the beginning, maybe some DeFi protocols should focus on becoming the most efficient infrastructure and then getting integrated into the most famous venues like the Revolut of the world, like the Robinhood of the world. which are all, by the way, getting very heavy into crypto infrastructures. So they are getting ready to integrate this DeFi backend, right? It's a matter of a year from now.
You want to react, Keith?
No,
Yeah, just don't be shy.
yeah. Please, you go first if you want. I agree with you in where it's going. Like, it's going to take a while for it to be adopted. I think if you step back for a second and you look at what this technology, blockchain technology, presents, and the threat that it presents to so many jobs in the finance industry, in any industry that has intermediaries, I think it's quite incredible. I always say, because my background happens to be the media industry, you know, like blockchain technology and DeFi is going to be as disruptive to the financial industry as digitization was to the entertainment and media industry. Like, that turned it on its head because it changed the sort of way in which everything was distributed. It changed where margin was made. And ultimately, you know, there's a lot of intermediaries in the financial industry that get removed when you implement blockchain technology. And the fact of the matter is the consumer-facing aspect of everything that's taking place in Web3 is not blockchain, it's AI, right? And as AI continues to move us towards a more efficient, more effective sort of world, like, you need a technology that can complement it to be able to verify at the speed that the AI could move transactions. And the problem with the way Web 2 works is trust flows from the top down and is verified by human beings layer by layer by layer. And those human beings are departments of lawyers, of departments of compliance people, of departments of all these different areas. The way Web 3 works is not trustless. Trustless is the worst descriptor in the planet. There's a lot of trust in Web 3. In fact, trust is replaced with truth, and then trust is verified bottoms up and requires far fewer people, far fewer layers to be able to say this actually happened, and it can move at a much faster speed. So it's an efficiency play. The problem with finance is so much regulation and policy gets involved because so much money's involved, right? And so in order to disrupt it, it has to actually disrupt the consumer realm first. Now, I always joke that I'm like a Web3 geriatric, right? When I was at Wired and this device came out, I'm at Wired magazine, this device comes out, the iPhone, and I am told that I am not allowed to have this device because it is not a business device. Okay, think about that, right? But the way that this became a business device was because consumer adoption became unbelievably powerful that businesses couldn't ignore it. Watch the BlackBerry movie, you'll see, right? And so what I genuinely think will happen in the read, write, own era is you're going to see rewards and loyalty, memberships, ticketing, marketing move first into this space. And it's become so prevalent in terms of how efficient and effective it can get that the regulation will catch up. And then when it hits the financial industry or it hits insurance or it hits any of these areas that have all these intermediaries, boy, you're going to use these tools and it is going to increase efficiency, monetization. You're going to see new ways of monetizing like no other. And that's ultimately where I think why it's going to take some time.
Chris?
Well, I think the thing that you have to think about, in order for that to happen, it's counterintuitive because we're going to need DeFi, we're going to need all these applications, but you have to actually make sure no one even knows that that's happening. Like, a great example is, like, raise your hand if you got here with GPS technology today. Everybody. How many of y'all did you all think that you were using GPS technology? You just said, okay, I need to get here. I'm going to press a button. I need to put the name in the direction and have it go there, right? But there's actually, oh, you did, of course. Well, that's because that's because you're from Wired and you think the whole thing, and you got the whole industry all behind your back, right? So, but there's such an underlying technology for GPS that not only just got you here, but created companies like Airbnb and created companies like Uber and Lyft and so many other businesses that leverage that technology that then you could build on top of. And that now it's just a staple in terms of how business and opportunities are led, right? And I think that same opportunity really lies with crypto and with Web3 and with all the layers in the application. The application layer is the most exciting opportunity with the infrastructure kind of being built and laying the grounds and the foundation right now. But in order for that to happen, you have to have the consumers to not even necessarily have to overthink and realize the technology, and you have to do it even better in order to actually make things very simple and easy to understand.
100%.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you still need to have the best infrastructure, and I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, and for the moment, this is the biggest challenge. I mean, we can discuss for hours about the UX and the products, but still we need infrastructure. So, I mean, Petrish,
Equally as
But,
important.
but even though, like using the GPS metaphor, you probably logged in with your Gmail account to use that GPS, and you're still logging into a very centralized company that using your data. It probably knows where you're going and where you're coming back from.
Yep.
So, but again, this is a similarity bias process, a GPS personality or interface that everyone's know how to use. So I believe that even for the mass adoption or for DeFi, we need to decomplicate crypto in general. We are so unsexy terms, like what means NFT, non-fungible tokens. Do you think anyone want to come to this? Or encryption or EVM, move EVM language? I bet you guys understand, but how the world do you understand?
By the way, there's a great, in like comms and media, like there's a great term where it's like, if you're explaining, you're losing.
Exactly. Right? Must be natural.
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yep.
But so, I mean, we have two minutes left. So, okay, maybe it's an evolution, but still, if we need to rebuild everything from scratch, and for example, Paul, that's what you are doing, it's more a revolution, right?
Right. So the way we think about DeFi in general is that we should rebuild it exactly like the internet. Like we think of DeFi protocols as internet protocols where the data that gets transmitted is data that has value, right? That has like, financial value, whether it's like NFTs or ERC20 tokens, like tokens in general. And when you think about how the internet has been, built and has evolved, especially the web, it's in layers, right? And then every layer is specializing, and then it keeps evolving, and each sort of like layer is learning from the other and is iterating, especially the last layer, the product layers. And so, again, like structurally, it is such a big difference in the way like finance is going to be organized. I think the hard path now is like, okay, how are the good apps are going to be built on top of infrastructure, and how do we have those feedback loops between apps and infrastructure, right? We should have the infrastructure listen to the app. We should have the app, understand the infrastructure constraints as well. Like, for example, we don't have privacy on blockchains, right? And this is very hard to build a very truly financial, compelling app if you don't even have privacy, right, of the transactions. And so far, we don't really care much because DeFi users are sort of like, very native. But I think we need more and more like those feedback loops between infrastructure and products in order to be, enshrined in the infrastructure what is needed for the products to be excellent.
Mm-hmm. 1 minute left, if you want, Chris.
I mean, I would say that the most important thing is getting back to the foundation of the internet, which was actually building an open source model, right? I mean,
100%.
if you think about one of the most successful protocols, SMTP, like it created email, right? Like, and we use protocols every single day, right? And the beauty of what Web3 is going to really be able to bring is network protocols and being able to have everybody connected online, on-chain, and being able to have these transactions. And I think that at the end of the day, if we think the revolution is going to actually bring everything back full circle, and before corporations and really commoditized every single layer of the internet, the original vision was to keep this thing open source and to keep the internet as one of the ultimate protocols, and now with the benefit of Web3 and tokens and so many of these different new protocols and decentral and DeFi that's coming out, you're able to have a supercomputer that's have all the nodes that will be able to be connected on top of the internet, and that's Web3. And I think that that's why we're all here. And let's rock and roll.
Thank you very much. Lots of applause. Thank
Merci.
you.
Merci. Thank you very much.